All right, taking another look at the Fate of Reiters. This is the second game in the by Shot, Shock, and Faith system. This is the Battle of Dormans, which, you know, or if I wanted to anglicize it, Dormans, the Battle of Dormans. And then each of the maps has a little French phrase on it. Let's see. Les Reiters plus mauvais et redoutable par remonner que par effet. Yeah, I don't know. Something about the Reiters are not as tough as they seem, I think, which is, I think, pretty much what it says here. The Reiters Knights, nastier and more formidable by fame rather than by effect. Well, as it turns out in this game, the Reiters were pretty effective. So this starts out with a fairly massive Catholic force arranged, and I'm going to set this down for a second and then go grab something to point with. So, how this game starts out is the Catholics, which you can see they're arranged here and a couple over here. They are essentially like scattered all through these zones. Now you can see here all the units lost so far, all Catholic units, and it's a lot. Notice they lost almost all, actually, no, yeah, almost all except for one of their gendarmes, which, you know, are their heavy cavalry. They lost a couple of the mounted arquebusiers, which, what are they called? The mounted arguelets. They lost a couple of those guys and an arquebusier. So this terrain here, as you can see, is an issue. They can't cross. The Catholics start all over here on this side of the Marne. They can't cross the Marne except for here and for here. So there's a bridge here, and there's what looks like, just by the graphics, looks like a ford here. And the Protestants start in this zone, this zone, this zone, this zone, and this zone. So they don't even start here. The issue is the Catholic leader, and I'm going to set my camera down, hopefully, to move it around if I need to, but for the moment we'll set it down. So this is the Catholic leader. He is ordinarily the Guise, but he was killed, so now he's just the chief of the column. The problem is he starts out up here, and I think either here or here, I don't remember exactly, I think it was here. He starts out with hold orders, which gives everybody a -2 to their movement. And so this makes it hard for them to move, makes it hard for them to attack. But there's two battles. The second battle is a column, or the second column, rather, of the column commander is Delaval. He was also killed, replaced by the chief of the column. So the column commander, he starts out here, or I actually think he does start out here. So the vanguard, and he's got basically 4 gendarmes with him. And he has one, let's see. It's really hard to tell on camera, but these are blue 3s, and these are gray. So you can see there's 2 of the blue gendarmes that were killed, a blue arquebusier, damn it, what are they called? Just looked at this. Mounted arguelets, thank you. Blue mounted arguelet and a blue arquebusier, but a gray mounted arguelet. So essentially the column has 3 gendarmes and a mounted arguelet. And I tried putting all those guys here and attacking across this bridge. It did not work. I had 3 guys, because you can only have 3 stacked in a 2 zone. You can have 4 stacked in a 1 zone. I had 3 guys stacked here, and the Protestants have 1 combat guy, and everybody else is fire-based. So at the time, I had the Cuirassier, I had him here with 2 of the Reiters. And they did reaction fire. I couldn't do a reaction charge with this guy. I could only do reaction fire. But the reaction fire screwed up the mounted Argalet, because I wanted to eliminate the support capability of having multiple. So the way the support works is you have an orange and a yellow essentially in the same space. You can't get the support bonus with all orange or all yellow in a particular zone. So what I was trying to do, I moved the mounted Argalet that reported to this column. I moved him down to here. And so rightly, when I did my reaction attacks from here, I focused on the 1 guy that could give all of these gendarmes in here support. And so these guys were able to eliminate the support attack and then also damage 2 of the gendarmes. So it was not a good result for the Vanguard. And one of the results that I got was a leader casualty result, which I ended up rolling for De Laval. And so, not that it matters. I mean, De Laval, he's not, you can see here, he has a 3. Oh, look, his generic replacement also has a 3 in terms of his combat capability. So he's just as worthless as a regular guy, so it doesn't really matter. And it didn't even matter for casualty purposes either, because for the victory points, for the Protestants, they don't get any victory points for eliminating Laval. They only get victory points for De Guise, which they get 16 victory points for, which they also got, by the way, which kind of is what finished this game, which you can see I'm on turn 4 of H, so I made it halfway through. Because of the initial Catholic attempt to bust across the bridge here, since they have no other means of getting to the Protestants except through here, or as you can see, I've got a couple of isolated guys. It's because I had some Cheval Leger run around and cross down here where they can cross the river and then run over. The problem is these guys, if the Catholic can't take this space here, the guys that cross the river further down are going to be isolated until these guys can get across the river. I did briefly get across the river with the Catholics, and they were immediately thrown back. So that's part of the problem. Drop my pencil. So what happened? The Vanguard kind of blew up, with basically down to 1 guy. I ended up backing off here. The problem is that I couldn't have taken the larger battle and kind of spread them down to here, because that would put them out of command of the leader who was in this space and then this space. 1, 2, 3, that's good enough. But the problem is, once he crossed the river, which he did, that would have put any guys over here out of command. So, because you've got intervening units, can't trace through there, so you would trace based on the junction point here. You'd have to go 1, 2, 3. Now anybody here is out of command. So, and because the Vanguard troops had already been so damaged, I think my problem is that I attacked too soon with the Vanguard before the rest of the army could get an attack order and get in position, because I thought, oh, they'll be able to do that quickly. Well, no, they weren't. I was not able to change the orders for de Guise. It was not able to change those until the third turn, which was too late. At that point, the vanguard over here had already been decimated. So it ended up, instead of having multiple points of pressure on the Protestants, I ended up with a single point of pressure on the Protestants over here, which allowed the Protestants to shift their line around and get their all-important, very powerful cuirassiers with a 7. It enabled them to get up to the front wherever they were needed to hit Catholic forces, and enabled them to combine with the Reiters and or the arquebusiers to get those support roles. And so the brief beachhead that I got here with the Catholics was heavily counterattacked by forces that were here, and this has been cleared out now, but there were Protestant forces here and here, and because of the junction point, because you can attack through a junction, forces here could attack there, or reaction fire or reaction charge, reaction fire, reaction charge in both of these spaces onto this space. Makes it very tough for the Catholics to have their only point of access to be here. And now, had they been able to hold this, then these guys that came around the flank here would have been able to get around and threaten more of the Protestant position down here. But since on a single turn, the Catholics were not able to hold this space, I was able to push in, actually with my cuirassier, he was able to push in there to that space once they'd killed everybody in there, and push them back across the river, because and that's where, so that's how the leader got killed. I stupidly moved de Guise across the river with his forces, and when I counterattacked here with all the forces that were in these two spaces, it ended up killing everybody in this space, and they advanced. And that also, when the leader was there by himself, when they advanced into the space, that killed the leader. So kind of disastrous. I should never have moved de Guise across. The reason I wanted to move him across was because I was trying to hook these guys back up, because once he gets across, then these guys will be in command, and then they can have a lot of freedom of movement to try and get around in behind or on the flank of the Protestant position. And, you want to try and get this baggage train that's worth 16 points, I think. The problem is the Catholics have not been able to kill any Protestant forces so far. I've had some that have been disorganized. You can see I've got here one that's been step lost. But over here, none of these Catholic troops are worth any points. The problem is the gendarmes are worth 8 points apiece. And so you've got 4 of these guys here that are lost. No, wait. Is that right? Oh, yeah. So 4 of those guys that are lost, so you have 32 points. But then also de Guise being killed is worth 16 victory points. So now the Protestants are at 48 points, which is going to be a major victory. I don't think, with what the Catholics have left, I don't think that they're going to be able to get their guys across here. I think this defense is too strong. These guys are isolated, so they can't move up and press the attack. They're stuck there. They'd have to move back towards the leader in order to get back within command, although there's the question is, could they move to here and get closer to the leader? Regardless, they can't attack when they're isolated, so it's pointless. I don't believe that the Catholics have enough strength left without the heavy mailed fist of their gendarmes to kill enough Protestant forces, take enough Protestant territory, force the Protestants out of Dormans, which is, I guess, I'm not sure if it's both of these spaces. So part of the victory points is 10 victory points. Oh, actually gives me the actual space. So if the Protestants are still in this space at the end of the game, that's another 10 points for them. Obviously, there's just not enough force here with the Catholics to get across this space. These solid yellow lines are tough to get across, even with melee troops. It just gives it, the 2 space here gives an advantage to the defender of a +1. I think a +1 against gendarme. Let me see. Nope, it's a +2. And then the solid yellow line gives a +1. So anybody defending here is getting a +3 against these gendarmes. And when you're relatively even in terms of strength, it's just not great. They would need a lot more mass, and their mass was wiped out early in the game. And, you know, a lot of that is rolls. The rolls were tough. I got bad rolls for the Catholics on this side. And you know, that may be a big portion of why this turned out the way it did is the rolls are bad. And, you know, that's the luck of the draw, the luck of the roll, as it were. The dice giveth, the dice taketh away. With a bad start for the Catholics, and you know, this is their primary means of pressuring the Protestants in the early turns. The rest is to pressure them across here, and then you squeeze in from both sides. The problem for the Catholics, they could never get across the bridge or the ford in enough force without being disordered, because that was part of it. Just moving across here, the guys had to be disordered, and part of that was because he could not change his orders. I failed his orders would change roll from hold to attack. At a hold, they're a -2 on movement, so I had to wait to move everybody because I did not want to get everybody across the river into a Zoc, across a solid yellow line, and into a Zoc zone, because he had guys here, into a Zoc zone, and failing a bunch of disorder rolls and have a bunch of disordered guys here. So I waited, and that was a problem because these guys were getting their asses handed to them over here. It's about coordinating a punch on both sides, and I did not do that correctly, and the Catholics paid for it, and I think that's why they lost the scenario. I think if you kind of bide your time, well, either you get luckier on your attack rolls or your orders rolls, you get luckier with the Catholics, and things are totally different. Or you just kind of bide your time, wait until you got everybody on attack orders, you've got both columns in full strength and ready to punch through, and I think that can do it for the Catholics. But it did not. I didn't do it right. I got bad rolls. I got the leader killed. You know, the 16 victory points for losing de Guise for the Catholics, that's tough to come back from, especially if you've already lost a bunch of gendarmes. So I think I'm going to call it here after 4 turns, but, you know, with an asterisk saying, hey, I didn't play this right with the Catholics. I didn't bide my time enough with the Catholics, and I didn't succeed well enough on my orders rolls for the Catholics. And so playing it again, that's what I would do. You know, cool your heels a little bit, get your orders changed, get everybody in position, and then hit all at once, and I think you're in good shape. So anyway, that's another look at another scenario from The Fate of Reiters and by Shot, Shock, and Faith. And again, this is the Battle of Dormans.